Welcome to the Peugeot Landtrek. That is Peugeot's first foray into the Bakkie market. And today we're going to have a look at this Bakkie and I'm going to tell you whether or not a French Bakkie is a good thing. So for starters, let's have a look at the exterior and the design. It's actually a really good looking Bakkie, I won't lie. But if you look at sort of Peugeot's fleet at the moment, they're making really good looking cars. And the Landtrek is absolutely no exception. In the front here, you've got like a massive grille, the Peugeot badge standing proud, lots of sort of chrome around the edges. You've got cool light clusters on either side, the fog lights at the bottom, and these LED daytime running lights that live over here, right? So like the front is okay. There's a bit of like a skid plate at the bottom there, although it's not really a skid plate, it's more like just, you know, kind of plastic bits. Side profile of the Landtrek is pretty good too. You'll see there's a running board over there. It's also got these sort of roof racks and roof rails over here. They're not proper racks, they're just rails. You can obviously clip racks on top of them. And what's important about the Landtrek is that it doesn't actually share a platform with anybody. So this is not built on the Navara, this is not built on the new Rangers, this is not built on the Amarok. They've kind of developed their entire own platform in conjunction with a Chinese company of whose Bakkies we don't get in South Africa. Around the back, this light cluster looks pretty cool. It's an interesting design, the way it wedges in there, but it looks really nice. The Peugeot branding lives over there. Big Peugeot branding on the back. They've gone bold with the branding everywhere in this car, and it actually looks quite nice. Sort of tail flap at the back here, not very power assisted. You'll see it literally just has these hinges, so it's still quite heavy to kind of open and close. Up here on the bars, you see there are actually LED lights, and that is a brake light as well. So you can turn those LED lights on. They sort of illuminate the back, and this cover obviously comes right off. And then in the wheel department, you have these 18-inch wheels. You've got quite a big profile. It's obviously a Bakkie. They're kind of semi-off-road. They don't look too bad. They're kind of that sort of typical diamond cut, black and silver look that you see on so many cars today. But the wheels suit the van, so it looks okay. Lots of chrome bits going on. You obviously have the chrome roll bars at the back here that have the Landtrek branding on it. You've got the chrome door handles, the chrome finish on the mirrors. There's lots of chrome in the front. All the lettering on the back is chrome. So they've really tried hard to kind of finish it in lots of chrome. So standard on the Landtrek is keyless entry, and there are sort of buttons on the door you can press that unlock the car. The interior here, they literally have gone bin digging in the Peugeot corporate part bin. Let me show you. In addition to the keyless entry, there's also a start-stop button. This button is actually a little bit squishy then when you press it, and then the vehicle fires up. So corporate parts bin stuff. These sort of piano keys are straight out of pretty much the 3008, the 5008. Any modern Peugeot has this kind of key vibe going. So that's the same. You have a volume knob, which is fantastic. You've got two USB ports. One is power only, and the other one does connect your phone to Apple CarPlay. There's a string of buttons over here which kind of don't do anything. That is a 360 camera, and that does nothing. That just indicates the airbag situation. When you press the 360 camera, it pops up over there, and this camera is actually pretty good. You've got a 360 view or a 3D view, which gives you a nice sort of graphic of the car. You can't rotate the car on this side of the screen, but you can on this side. So you tap there, and then you can kind of change the angle at which you want to look at the car. And if you tapped on top of it, it kind of gives you a point of view of the car. It feels like you're playing PlayStation when it does that. So it's quite useful from that perspective. One of the options that you have here is, if you go to settings, camera activation by direction indicator. If you turn that on, the minute you indicate and slow down, the camera activates and automatically shows you sort of side camera angles of the direction you're turning. And being such a big car, that's a really useful thing to activate if you're navigating parking spaces, if you're in shopping centers. You can see all the curbs and everything around you. This screen is a 10-inch screen, and it comes straight out of the Peugeot 508. Over here, the air vents look pretty funky. The interior design of this car is really nice. Gear lever looks nice. You obviously got your sport and eco buttons there. You've got your gear selector over here. It gives you 2x4 high range, 4x4 high range, and 4x4 low range. The steering wheel, you might see, and it looks familiar. It's straight out of the 3008, and actually works really nicely. It's a really nice steering wheel. In the center there, you've got a small-ish screen that gives you a bunch of information. You can also sort of flip through the various bits and pieces that the screen has to offer. Your typical Peugeot rev counter, which goes outwards that way, and then the speedometer, which goes outwards that way. So they don't both turn in the same same direction. Quite a common thing in Peugeots. The rest of the cabin here, you have grab handles over there. You've got more of those cool vents, again with all the chrome. You'll notice in the center here there's a lot of chrome. There's a cup holder at the top there, there are cup holders on the door, there are 2 cup holders over here. There's even a slide out cup holder on this side that kind of pops out. The problem here is anything that's kind of tall bashes into that a little bit, so that's skinny water bottle kind of vibes, not big coffee cup vibes. So up on the roof here, nothing special. You have your normal door light button. These buttons don't actually do anything, so you can't turn the lights on there, although that's what you'd think. You turn them on by actually pressing the button, and then you got a little pocket here for shades. But let's get on the Landtrek, let's take it for a drive, and then I can tell you more about the engine. Right, so the Peugeot Landtrek and driving it. It's a 2 litre, actually a 1.9 litre engine. It produces 110 kilowatts and 350 newton meters of torque, which is pretty average in the Bakkie market. Pricing for this comes in at about 700,000 Rand, which is really not bad considering what you're getting here in the Bakkie market. The interior is lovely, as I've showed you. It feels very Peugeot. Quality is good. The build quality seems really good. Exactly what you'd expect from a modern day Peugeot. Ride comfort, you know, these things all feel the same. They're Bakkies. I know not everybody agrees with me. I know people can get quite nuanced on Bakkie suspensions, but this is pretty standard. It's quite bumpy. I've not had the opportunity to take it off-road, but I imagine it would handle off-road like any other sort of Bakkie in its class. In and around town, it's quite comfortable. Getting in and out is comfortable. The doors are light, easy to open. It has that cool sort of camera feature, which does allow you to kind of see what's going on around you, and that to me is probably the biggest sort of selling point in this vehicle, is the camera tech that they've built in here make this car easy to navigate in and around town. So if you're owning a Bakkie like this and you're driving around town, but you're also taking it off-road, when you're in and around town, it's more manageable than it would be if, for instance, you didn't have any of that technology. In the middle here, you have a 6-speed pretty standard CVT gearbox. It feels a little bit whiny every now and again, especially when you step on it. It's a Bakkie, 110 kilowatts. This is not a power diesel unit, so you kind of understand it kind of holds the revs up. It's trying to make sure there's power, so that's okay. Like, that's exactly what you'd expect. You have other features in this car like automatic headlights. Incline angles and decline angles on this car are actually pretty good, so you can get quite aggressive off-road if you need to. Suspension is quite high off the ground, so you've got tons of clearance, and overall the day-to-day drive of this car is fantastic. Also, as I mentioned earlier, there are cup holders everywhere, so you've got tons of space for that. You've got a slot in the center for your phone. Peugeot seem to have brought together the best of a practical Bakkie that you can own and drive in town if you have to, as well as adding enough features in there so that when you want to go off-road and when you do want to go out, you actually can take it off into the dirt. It's a good looking car too, so there's nothing wrong with actually owning one of these as your daily driver.